Hello, here is the news of this hour from Tstv. I am Olaide Amosun. Here are some major headlines. Oyo IGR now 2.3 billion naira, targets 6.2 billion naira monthly, says Finance Commissioner. The federal government reopens secondary schools August 4th for SS3 students. On the foreign scene, Tanzanian opposition figure returns from exile to run for president. In the exciting world of sports, Liverpool defender LOVREN joins ZENIT St. Petersburg. Other news in details. The internally generated revenue, IGR, of Oyo State now has an average of 2.3 billion naira monthly, the state's finance commissioner, Akionla Ojo, has said. Ojo, who revealed this on Monday, also disclosed that the state targets a monthly IGR of 3.2 billion naira by end of this year and 6.2 billion naira by May 2023. He hinged the resolve of the current administration to achieve the set IGR targets on efforts aimed at expanding the state's economic base, creating wealth for citizens, erecting the right infrastructure, harnessing the state's potential, creating enabling environment to attract foreign investment. He added that the bond the current administration looked to raise was in the region of between 12 and 14% interest rate, at about 3.5% as fees with repayment tenor of between 7 to 12.5 years. It was reported that a grant of 25% reduction in undisputed bill assessment served by means of harmonized billing system is also granted to any business that intends to pay their bill by September 30. Meanwhile, the tax incentives also allows tax agents to remit the pay-as-you-earn to the extent of the staff strength that are paid in each month that COVID-19 has affected them. The Speaker, Oyo State House of Assembly, Honorable Adebo Ogundoyin, has assured traders at the popular Gbagi International Market, Ibadan, that Governor Seyi Makinde will improve facilities in the market in line with his election campaign promise. Honorable Ogundoyin gave the assurance when elders and leaders of the textile market visited him in his office. The traders, led by the Chairman, Council of Elders and Board of Trustees, Gbagi Market, Ibadan, Alhaji Mukaila Adebayo, were at the Speaker's office to present some of the challenges confronting the market, especially lack of parking space before him. The elders identified their other needs in the market to include lack of potable water, inadequate and irregular power supply, lack of enough toilet facilities, and lack of good road network within the market, among others. The Oyo State Speaker assured the elders and leaders of the market that the present administration, led by Governor Seyi Makinde, will also renege on its promise of providing necessary infrastructure in the market to befit the status of an international market, and in line with the original master plan as designed by late Chief Olaige. The federal government has said all secondary schools in the country are to resume academic activities August 4th, 2020. Hence, the resumption, according to the Federal Ministry of Education, would only be for SS3 students writing the West African Examinations Council, WAEC, and the National Examinations Council, NECO. In a statement by the government, students will have 2 weeks within which to prepare for the West African examinations due to start on the 17th of August 2020. It was reported that the decision was unanimous and was reached today at a virtual consultative meeting between the Federal Ministry of Education, Honorable Commissioners of Education of the 36 states, the Nigeria Union of Teachers, NUT, the proprietors of private schools, and the Chief Executive of Examination Bodies. Meanwhile, the meeting also resolved that a passionate appeal be made to the federal government through the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and public-spirited Nigerians for assistance to schools across the country to enable them fast-track the preparations for safe reopening as agreed. The federal government has declared Thursday 30th and Friday 31st July 2020 as public holidays to mark this year's Eid al-Kabir celebration. The Minister of Interior, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, while making the declaration on behalf of the federal government, congratulated Muslim faithful and all Nigerians both at home and abroad on the occasion. He called on the Muslims to continue to imbibe the spirit of love, peace, kindness, and sacrifice, and to also use the period to pray for peace, unity, prosperity, and the stability of the country, especially as the world is witnessing global health challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The minister advised Nigerians to take responsibility against the spread of the COVID-19 virus and also to stay safe by observing physical and social distancing, personal and respiratory hygiene, as well as other regulations issued by relevant authorities. Moving on to the foreign scene, Tanzanian opposition heavyweight Tundu Lissu, who was shot 16 times in the 2017 attack, returned home from exile on Monday to challenge President John Magufuli in elections later this year. Lissu, a former MP with the Chadema main opposition party, was welcomed by hundreds of supporters who clamored around his car as he waved from an open sunroof. It was reported that Tanzania will hold a general election on October 2nd. You'd recall in an interview with news agencies shortly before leaving to Tanzania, Lissu said he was going back home to try and fight for the presidency. Lissu said his health was good after his ordeal, in which he was shot at his home in 2017, a year in which he was arrested at least 6 times. A court in Malaysia has sentenced former Prime Minister Najib Razak to 12 years in jail after finding him guilty on all 7 counts in the first of several multi-million-dollar corruption trials. Najib had pleaded not guilty to the charges of criminal breach of trust, money laundering and abuse of power. The case against him is seen as a test of Malaysia's anti-corruption efforts. The 1MDB scandal around the state-owned wealth fund in Malaysia has uncovered a global web of fraud and corruption. It sent shockwaves through Malaysia's political establishment, leading to the toppling of Najib's UMNO party, which had governed the country for 61 years since it gained independence. He has been sentenced to 12 years in prison for abuse of power and 10 years in jail for each of 6 counts of money laundering and breach of trust. The sentences are to run concurrently. Meanwhile, Judge Mohammed Nazalan Ghazali told the Kuala Lumpur High Court, after considering all evidence in his trial, that the prosecution has successfully proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. And moving to the exciting world of sports, Zenit St. Petersburg has signed centre-back LOVREN from Liverpool on a 3-year contract, the Russian champions announced on Monday. LOVREN, who joined Liverpool from Southampton in 2014, leaves Anfield after making 185 appearances in all competitions, scoring 8 goals. No financial details were disclosed, but it was reported Liverpool have agreed a deal worth around £11 million with Zenit St. Petersburg for LOVREN. LOVREN was part of the Liverpool squad, which won the 2018-2019 UEFA Champions League and Super Cup and Club World Cup in 2019. Valencia has appointed Javi Gracia as their new head coach on a 2-year contract. Gracia replaces Voro, who served as interim coach in the closing weeks of the La Liga season after Albert Celades was sacked last month. A run of 1 win in 5 matches following the campaign's June restart saw Celades dismissed, with sporting director Cesar Sanchez then also resigning. It was reported that the 50-year-old, who also coached Osasuna and Rubin Kazan, led Watford to the 2018-19 FA Cup final, but was sacked last September, early in a campaign that concluded with the Hornets' relegation from the Premier League. And with that, we've come to the end of the news, a recap of the headlines. Oyo IGR, now 2.3 billion naira, targets 6.2 billion naira monthly, says Finance Commissioner. The federal government reopens secondary schools August 4th for SS3 students. And on the foreign scene, Tanzanian opposition figure returns from exile to run for president. In the exciting world of sports, Liverpool defender LOVREN joins Zenit St. Petersburg. Please do not forget to always adhere to COVID-19 safety measures. The news was compiled by Mubola Badekale. I am Olaide Amose. Good day and thank you for watching.